The galaxy was a place of endless wonders. Stars burned in every corner. Empires stretched across light years, and ancient species looked down from their thrones of power. To them, the universe was already known, already conquered. They had seen young races rise and fall, and they believed nothing new could surprise them anymore. Then, from a small blue planet on the edge of a spiral arm, a signal was heard. It was weak compared to the powerful transmissions of great civilizations, but it was strange. It carried music, laughter, speeches, and even greetings spoken in many human tongues. It was Earth trying to reach out, trying to say, "We are here." At first, the galaxy smiled. To the Council of Worlds, humanity looked harmless, even fragile. They had only just begun to leave their planet, building small stations in orbit and fragile ships that crawled between their neighboring worlds. Compared to the mighty fleets of the elder races, Earth was like a child with a toy boat, drifting in an ocean full of sharks. The Council gathered in their grand chambers, a place where hundreds of alien voices filled the air. They debated about Earth, and their words dripped with arrogance. Some said humanity should be guided, taught their place, and put under the protection of the Council. Others whispered that Earth might become a danger if left alone, and it was better to control them now before they grew teeth. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. Humanity was too small to resist, so they sent their emissaries. First came probes, sleek machines that orbited Earth and scanned every continent, every ocean, every city. Then came their great ships, massive like floating mountains hanging above Earth's skies. To the people of Earth, it was the first time they saw proof that they were not alone. For a moment there was wonder. Children pointed at the skies, elders wept, and leaders trembled at what this meant. But that wonder quickly turned to fear. The aliens did not come as friends. They came with orders. The leader of the Council fleet spoke with a voice that shook the atmosphere. His words were broadcast into every language, across every device. "Humans," he said, "your world is now under the protection of the Galactic Council. You are young, and you do not know the dangers of the universe. You will follow our laws. You will kneel and you will obey. This is not a request. It is your only path to survival." The skies above Earth darkened with their ships. Beams of light swept across the surface as alien weapons hummed, ready to fire. The message was clear. Humanity was not being welcomed. Humanity was being owned. Many races before had accepted such demands. They bent their heads, surrendered their freedom, and lived as lesser people beneath the shadow of the Council. The aliens believed Earth would do the same, but Earth was not like other worlds. The leaders of every nation gathered in secret rooms and bright halls. Soldiers, scientists, and ordinary men and women spoke with one voice for the first time in history. Fear filled their hearts, but inside that fear was also fire. Humanity had fought countless wars against itself, had survived plagues, famines, and disasters. They had endured centuries of pain and risen stronger each time. Now, for the first time, that spirit was no longer turned against each other. It was united. A single message was written. It was sent across the stars, not in anger, not in begging, but in warning. We are not prey. We are not weak. Leave Earth, or learn what it means to wake a sleeping predator. The words echoed through the Council chambers. The aliens looked at one another and laughed. To them it was ridiculous. How could a young, fragile species dare to threaten empires that had stood for thousands of years? But far below, on the blue world they had underestimated, humanity waited. The skies were filled with fear, but also with determination. Every man, every woman, and every child would remember that message. And for the first time, the galaxy had been warned. The warning from Earth spread across the galaxy like a spark in dry grass. Every race, from the smallest colony world to the great capitals of empires, heard the words, "We are not prey. We are not weak. Leave Earth, or learn what it means to wake a sleeping predator." To the elder species, it sounded almost childish. What could this fragile race possibly do? They had no great fleets, no weapons that could shatter moons, no armies of millions spread across the stars. In the Council chambers, alien leaders laughed. They believed humanity's words were nothing but noise, defiance born from fear. But beneath their laughter there was unease. For the first time, a young species had not begged for guidance. They had not fallen to their knees. They had not accepted the chains of the Council. Humanity had spoken with pride, with fire, and with unity. And that was something the galaxy did not often see. Still, the Council decided the humans must be taught a lesson. The fleet above Earth received its orders. They were not to destroy the planet, it was too valuable, and the galaxy would not waste resources on complete extermination. Instead, they were to remind the humans of their place. A demonstration of power, swift and merciless to break their will before it grew dangerous. On the day of the demonstration, the skies of Earth turned red. Alien warships opened fire. Beams of energy cut through the upper atmosphere, scorching the land below. Forests caught flame. Oceans boiled in fury as shockwaves rippled across their surfaces. Entire cities trembled as tremors struck, windows shattering and buildings swaying. It was not full destruction, but it was a show of how helpless Earth truly was beneath the Council's power. Billions watched in horror. Children clung to their parents, soldiers clenched their fists, and leaders pressed their hands against tables as screens filled with fire. Across the world there was fear, but inside that fear something else began to burn. It was anger. For centuries, humanity had fought itself in wars both large and small. But this was different. This was not a war between brothers, not a fight for land or power. This was survival. This was the right to exist as free people. The Council expected surrender. They expected humanity to break, but humanity did not. In the shadows of destroyed cities, survivors gathered. They carried the wounded. They put out fires with their bare hands, and they rebuilt what they could. On the edges of ruined forests, soldiers looked up at the skies and swore that Earth would never bow. And in the deepest halls of power, the leaders of Earth prepared their response. It would not be a surrender. The message they sent was not long, but it carried the weight of every broken home, every burned field, and every tear shed by the people of Earth. You came to our skies and showed your strength. You thought we would kneel. You thought we would beg, but hear us now, we are not afraid. Every tree you burned, every city you shattered, every child you tried to terrify has made us stronger. You wanted to remind us of our place. Now we will remind you of yours. The Council received this message, and once again they laughed. To them it was foolishness. How could such a young species resist? But in the silence that followed, some of the older races did not laugh. They remembered stories. Old stories of predators from forgotten worlds. Stories of species that rose from suffering, not comfort. Stories of warriors who learned not in peace but in fire. And as Earth prepared to fight, those few races whispered a warning that others did not hear. Do not push them too far. Do not awaken what you cannot kill. Above Earth, the fleet of the Council waited for surrender. Below, humanity sharpened its claws. The galaxy did not yet understand, but soon it would. Humanity had given its warning. And the next move would not be words. It would be blood. The alien fleet hovered above Earth like a storm that would never pass. To the Council, this was nothing more than a display of dominance. They believed fear would break the humans. They believed humanity would eventually bow. But day after day, no surrender came. The Council grew impatient. If fear did not work, then fire would, the order was given. A single warship descended lower into the atmosphere. It unleashed its weapons on a coastal city, tearing through buildings, setting the night sky ablaze. The screams of the people echoed across the ruined streets. Thousands died in minutes. The message was clear: resist and we will burn you. But instead of breaking, humanity's spirit hardened. In the shadows of destruction, survivors worked together. Firefighters carried strangers from the rubble. Soldiers cleared paths through debris with their bare hands. Scientists hacked into broken satellites, desperate to find weaknesses in the alien fleet. For every life lost, another human found the courage to fight. Humanity was not ready for a war among the stars. Their ships were small, their weapons old compared to alien technology. But humans had something no alien expected: adaptation. They did not sit still and accept defeat. They studied. They learned. And most of all, they refused to give up. One night, a small group of human soldiers launched a desperate plan. They had no great fleet, no powerful weapons. All they had was courage, stolen tools, and a stolen fragment of alien technology. They targeted one of the smaller warships that had descended too close to Earth. In silence, under the cover of smoke from burning cities, they boarded the alien vessel. The Council did not even consider that humans could dare such a thing. To the aliens, humans were too primitive to even attempt boarding a starship. They were wrong. The humans fought with knives, with guns, with anything they could carry. In the narrow halls of the alien ship, their rage burned brighter than any weapon. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but not outwilled. Step by step, they cut through the alien crew, leaving behind silence where arrogance once stood. Hours later, the impossible happened. The first alien warship fell. Smoke trailed through the sky as the massive vessel crashed into the ocean. Waves rose high, washing across nearby shores. For the first time in the war, the humans had struck back, not with a fleet, not with power, but with determination and fire. When the news spread, Earth shook with hope. Across the ruins of cities, people cheered. In shelters deep underground, children smiled for the first time in weeks. Soldiers raised their fists to the sky. The message was clear. Humanity could bleed its enemies. But hope was not the only thing that spread. In the council chambers, silence filled the air. Reports arrived describing how a group of humans with no proper warships had boarded and destroyed one of their vessels. The aliens were confused. To them, no young species should have been capable of such a thing. The humans had been outmatched in every way, and yet they had won. Some alien leaders dismissed it as luck. Others argued it was nothing but desperation. But a few, those who understood survival, saw something else. They saw danger. Back on Earth, the fallen warship became a symbol. Engineers studied its remains, pulling apart alien metal and wiring, learning secrets that had been hidden from them before. Every piece of technology became a lesson, every fallen enemy a teacher. Humanity's weakness began to transform into strength, and through it all, one truth became clear. Humanity did not fear the Council anymore. The first blood had been spilled. It was not humanity's blood this time. It was theirs. The Council had wanted to show dominance. Instead, they had shown humans that the galaxy's predators could bleed. And when predators bleed, prey learns to fight. The victory of destroying one alien warship sent hope through Earth like a spark in the dark. For the first time, humanity believed the enemy could be beaten. But victory did not come without pain. The cost was high, and the price of defiance soon revealed itself. The Council was enraged. To them, losing a warship to a primitive species was unthinkable. It was not only a wound to their pride, but also a challenge to their power. They answered with fire. Entire fleets descended upon Earth. Cities that had once stood tall were turned into ashes. The night skies lit up with beams of alien energy. Great oceans boiled where weapons struck. Forests that had lived for centuries were reduced to black smoke. The Council wanted to show that one stolen victory meant nothing. They wanted to drown humanity's spirit in despair, and yet, the humans endured. In every destroyed city, survivors crawled from the rubble and carried each other to safety. In every burning village, strangers risked their lives to save children they had never met. Doctors worked in dark basements using the simplest tools to heal the wounded. Engineers, with no sleep and no food, studied broken alien machines, desperate to find ways to fight back. The cost of the war was heavy. Millions died. Families were torn apart. The Earth itself screamed beneath the weight of destruction. But through the suffering, humanity's unity grew stronger. No longer were they divided by nations or flags. Now they fought as one people. The Council expected fear. What they saw instead was fury. Soldiers who had lost everything fought with even greater rage. Farmers who had never touched a weapon before stood guard at shelters with rifles in their hands. Children carried messages through war zones, refusing to give up. Humanity did not surrender. Humanity became fire. The first fallen alien warship had given them something greater than technology. It had given them belief. They now knew that their enemy was not invincible. And with every new attack, humans learned. They studied alien weapons, adapted their tactics, and turned every weakness into a weapon. But each lesson was paid for in blood. Every victory was built upon the graves of thousands. Earth became a battlefield scarred by craters, its skies filled with smoke. And still the humans whispered the same words. We warned you. The aliens did not understand. They had crushed many species before, and each one had broken quickly. Why did the humans refuse? Why did pain only make them stronger? It was something the Council could not explain. Some of the older species began to grow uneasy. In private, they remembered their own beginnings, times when they had clawed their way to survival. They recognized the look in humanity's eyes, not weakness but hunger, a hunger to live, a hunger to fight, a hunger to win. For the Council, the war was meant to be a simple lesson, but with every battle they realized the lesson was turning against them. Instead of teaching humans their place, they were shaping them into something far more dangerous. Back on Earth, in the ruins of shattered cities, a young girl stood at the edge of a crater, holding the broken hand of her father. She looked up at the burning sky, and her voice trembled as she whispered, "They think they can break us, but they don't know who we are." Her words spread like wildfire, carried from voice to voice until they reached soldiers in trenches, pilots in stolen ships, and leaders in hidden bunkers. Humanity's spirit was not broken. It was rising. The cost of survival was heavy, but it was a price humanity was willing to pay. Because in every death and every scar, the same truth became clearer. The galaxy had made a mistake. They had woken something they could no longer control. The world was burning, yet humanity refused to bow. Every strike from the Council only made them harder, sharper, and more dangerous. The scars of war had turned fear into anger, and anger into something even the galaxy could not measure. Fury. The first warship that humanity had captured was no longer just a symbol. It became a school. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers studied every piece of alien steel, every circuit, every weapon. What had once been strange became familiar. Within months, humans began building weapons of their own, crude but effective, forged from both alien and human designs. What the Council did not understand was that humans were fast learners. Every battle taught them something new. Every fallen enemy left behind tools to use. Humanity was climbing a ladder of knowledge that had taken other species centuries to master. And they were doing it in the middle of war. The Council expected humanity to remain on defense, to hide in the ashes of their destroyed cities. Instead, the humans struck back. Small groups of fighters in patched-up ships launched daring raids on the alien fleet. They attacked supply lines, ambushed patrols, and even disabled larger warships by sacrificing their own. Pilots rammed their fragile crafts into enemy vessels when escape was impossible, turning their own deaths into weapons. To the Council, this was madness. To humanity, it was survival. The galaxy began to whisper. Other races watched in silence as Earth bled yet refused to die. They spoke of human soldiers who fought even when wounded, of engineers who built weapons out of scrap, of mothers who shielded their children with their own bodies but never begged for mercy. The Council tried to send envoys, offering peace, but only if Earth agreed to stay confined, chained within its own solar system. They thought humanity would be desperate enough to accept, but the humans remembered the forests that had been burned, the oceans that had boiled, and the children buried beneath rubble. Their answer was clear. No chains, no masters, we will never kneel. And so the fury of Earth grew. The humans did not have the biggest fleet, but they fought with something greater than numbers. They fought with memory. They fought with loss. Every destroyed home was fuel. Every tear became fire. Where other species would surrender to despair, humans transformed pain into a weapon. One battle, above the orbit of Mars, became legend. A small fleet of human ships, barely a dozen, faced a Council armada 3 times their size. Logic said the humans should have been destroyed within minutes, but they fought like demons. They darted between the alien ships, targeting weak points, crippling engines, and forcing collisions. When their weapons ran dry, they rammed their ships straight into the enemy. When the smoke cleared, half the Council armada lay in ruins. Only 3 human ships remained standing, but they had survived. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. To fight humanity was to fight an enemy that did not rest, did not surrender, and did not fear death. And as the war stretched on, the truth spread farther and farther. Humanity was not deadly because of their weapons. Humanity was deadly because they refused to break. On Earth, a mother told her child, "They thought we were weak. They thought we were prey. But remember this, my child, wolves don't bow to lions." The child nodded, and the word spread from home to home, soldier to soldier, until they became part of Earth's spirit. The Council had wanted obedience. Instead, they had awakened fury, and that fury was coming for them. The war that was supposed to be quick had dragged on far longer than the Council ever expected. What was meant to be a lesson for a young, fragile species had turned into a nightmare. The fleets of the Council had the power of centuries behind them. Their ships were vast, their weapons sharp, and their armies trained in countless wars. But they faced an enemy unlike any other. Humanity did not fight like the other races. They did not bow when beaten. They did not surrender when surrounded. Every defeat became fuel for the next victory. The galaxy watched in silence. News of humanity's resistance spread from world to world. Stories were told in whispers, about pilots who fought until their ships became fireballs, about soldiers who refused to die quietly, about entire human cities that kept fighting even after being reduced to ruins. Other species, who once thought the Council unstoppable, now began to doubt. If Earth, small and young, could stand against such power, then maybe the Council was not as invincible as it seemed. Fear began to creep, not into humanity, but into the hearts of their enemies. The true turning point came in the Battle of Titans. Shadow, a massive Council fleet, gathered near Saturn's moon Titan. Their goal was to crush the remaining human forces in the solar system. They believed this final strike would shatter humanity's spirit once and for all. But humanity was ready. They had studied the Council's patterns, their weaknesses, their arrogance. When the alien fleet arrived, they found not a broken species waiting to be crushed, but a predator waiting in silence. Human ships, hidden in the shadows of Titan's thick atmosphere, launched their attack with precision. They struck not at the strongest warships, but at the supply vessels and command ships. Their weapons were not the most powerful, but they were aimed with deadly accuracy. Alien engines exploded, ships spun out of control, and confusion spread through the Council ranks. Then came the human boarding teams. Dozens of small, fragile craft darted through the battlefield, latching onto massive alien cruisers like wolves leaping onto giants. What followed inside those ships was chaos. Humans armed with stolen weapons and unshakable determination cut through crews that had believed themselves untouchable. By the time the battle ended, the Council had lost nearly half its fleet. The humans, battered and bloodied, had survived. Titan's skies glowed with burning wreckage, proof that humanity could not only fight but win. The galaxy trembled. In the Council chambers, silence reigned. No one laughed at the humans anymore. The word Earth was spoken with caution, with unease, even with fear. Some called humanity monsters. Others called them survivors. But all agreed they were dangerous. The Council now faced a choice. They could continue the war and risk losing even more to this relentless species, or they could retreat and accept humiliation. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty Council hesitated. Back on Earth, amidst the ruins and the scars of war, the people stood taller. Their world was still burning, but their spirit had become unshakable. Children who had once cowered in fear now drew pictures of human ships chasing alien giants. Soldiers who had buried their families now swore to fight until the stars themselves grew cold. A human general, speaking to his people after the victory at Titan, said words that carried across the galaxy. They thought we were weak. They thought we would kneel. But now they see the truth. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. We warned them once. That was enough. And so the war entered a new stage. No longer was Earth only defending. Humanity was rising, and the galaxy was beginning to understand. This young species was not prey. They were predators, and they had only just begun to hunt. The galaxy had learned to fear a name it once ignored. Earth. Stories of human courage, fury, and survival spread to distant stars faster than any fleet. Empires that had stood for thousands of years whispered the name in dread. Humanity had endured fire, death, and destruction, yet they stood taller, stronger, and wiser. The Council, once proud and unchallenged, now convened in urgent secrecy. Entire fleets had been lost, command ships destroyed, and supply lines shattered by a species they had dismissed as weak. They debated their next move with unease: continue the war and risk annihilation, retreat and admit defeat. It was the first time the Council had ever faced true hesitation. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity prepared its final act. They did not seek conquest or revenge. They did not desire empires, but they wanted one thing above all: respect. One warning, one message that would echo through the stars for centuries. The representatives of Earth, leaders, generals, scientists, and ordinary citizens chosen to speak for their species, assembled on the surface of a planet scarred by war. Their eyes reflected the fires of battle, their faces marked with grief and determination. When they addressed the Council, their voice carried not only through space but into the hearts of all who listened. "Remember this," a human leader began, her voice calm but fierce. "We did not ask for war. We did not seek dominion over the stars. We asked only for peace. You came to our skies, destroyed our homes, and believed that our smallness made us weak. You thought we would bend. You thought we would beg. You were wrong. The council fell silent. For the first time, their words were powerless against the weight of human truth. We warned you once, the leader continued. Once is all you get. Humanity is not a species to be tamed. We fight for life, for survival, and for freedom. Touch Earth again or threaten its people, and you will not see negotiation, nor mercy, nor retreat. You will see the full power of a species that has endured millennia of hardship, learned from every defeat, and turned every loss into strength. Humanity is deadly. The message traveled across the galaxy, reaching every corner, every fleet, every empire. No one laughed. No one doubted. For the first time, even the mightiest fleets paused, understanding that a new force had awakened. Humanity was no longer young. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity had become a reckoning. Above Earth, the remnants of the alien armada hovered in uncertainty. They had seen cities rise from ashes, ships fly against impossible odds, and humans strike where none should have survived. They had underestimated a species they thought was harmless, fragile, and simple. That mistake could never be repeated. On Earth, people began to rebuild. The cities were scarred, the forests burned, the oceans carrying the remnants of battle. Yet humanity smiled. They had survived the unthinkable. They had fought the galaxy's strongest and lived. And their spirit, unbroken, burned brighter than ever. A child born during the war looked up at the stars for the first time and whispered, "We are Earth, we are alive, and they will never forget." The galaxies learned that day that some warnings cannot be ignored. Some species cannot be tamed. Some worlds cannot be conquered. Humanity had given one warning that would echo for generations. The council retreated. Fleets that once ruled the stars pulled back to repair, rethink, and survive. For the first time, they felt the true weight of fear. Humanity had proven that weakness was an illusion and that courage, unity, and will could challenge even the most ancient powers. And Earth, scarred but unbroken, turned its eyes toward the stars. Not in fear, not in anger, but with quiet confidence. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought. Humanity had warned the galaxy. Earth had given one warning. Humanity is deadly.